Let's see here. Oh. Let's see. Are we getting some people in yet? I don't see so far. And let me tweet this out as well for my YouTube channel. Are we working there? Okay. That works. All right. Good stuff. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We got people rolling in. What's going on? I love seeing it. We got LinkedIn family here. We got the YouTube family here. What's going on, y'all? So I'm on a brand new computer, and I am currently getting my Visual Studio Code set up. We're going to do a little live coding session today. We're going to do AMA. If you were part of the Twitter space earlier from when I was talking, what's going on? So many people. That's what I'm talking about. What's going on? What's going on? How are y'all? Thanks for hanging out. What's going on, Craig? What's going on, Code with Tony? Thanks for hanging out. So right now, I'm getting everything set up in the background. I am currently installing everything that I need. Wow, a lot of people. What's going on? Hello from Ukraine. What's going on? Hey, how are you? What's an AMA? AMA is Ask Me Anything. So we're talking today about landing your jobs in tech, what we need to do to stand out in the process, how to get employers to pay attention to us, things like that. So we're going to use something like that to make sure that we help you out in the process. In the last year alone, 2020 was kind of rough for everybody. And so one of the coolest things about 2020 was, even though it was a rough year, I still managed to help several hundred people land their very first jobs in tech. So I want to make sure that I'm doing that for way more people. I want to make sure that we're doing everything that we need to do and getting you ready for that process. Whoa, so many people joining in. What's going on, Oscar? How you doing? What's going on, Doug? What's going on? LinkedIn is really showing the love today. So what's going on, Web Dev Junkie? How's your new job? It's fantastic. And I'm able to do this because of that. Hello from South Africa. What's going on? All right. We definitely have LinkedIn showing the love today for sure. Taylor, what's going on? All right. So today I actually have a cool little little coding tutorial that we're going to go through. And the cool thing about that is I was asked I was coming up with ideas for what to do here. And I said, let's code something that it's not super big. It's something that you can start building. And then hopefully after we finish this, you can continue building upon these concepts. And I really want to take advantage of that for everyone here. And to be honest, the cool thing about this is this is a brand new Visual Studio Code that I just installed, and it has nothing set up. So this will be really easy for us to start everything from scratch together. Whoops, that was the wrong button. Share the screen. We're sharing this here. And so the cool thing about this and everything that we're doing is we're going to be able to start everything from scratch together. And if you want to code along, you absolutely can. It's going to be very beginner friendly. It's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it's not going to be super, super crazy stuff. It's going to be a very good base for you to start building things upon. So give me 1 second here. Let me get this. Let me get this going here. All right, perfect. Hello from Mississippi. Mississippi's in the house. What's going on? We got India in the house. We got California. What's going on, amazing people? From Nigeria. What's going on, Nigeria? Jordan, what's going on? Flutter or React Native, please answer my question. I don't know what the question was. But I do like, do I like Flutter? I like Flutter. I think the job market is growing in it a lot. I'm actually looking into a lot. If you follow me on Twitter, make sure you follow me on Twitter if you're not. But if you follow me on Twitter, you know for the last several days, I've been doing a deep dive into Android development. I want to understand why the sector is growing so much, especially with cross-platform solutions being out there like Flutter or React Native. And the job market is growing tremendously with it. So I want to understand that more. I've been having a lot of conversation with Android developers and really understanding it. I've made a couple apps over the last couple of days, and I really see that industry growing in a big way. So I kind of want to learn more about it and basically why. especially with cross-platform solutions being there. And I understand the basic premise because certain companies want very native solutions as opposed what they can get out of a cross-platform application, and they also really want the teams focused on the nature of that product instead of trying to just make a generalized item. So it definitely makes sense. All right, what's going on? I started my first dev job as a backend developer last week. Wow, congratulations! Your LinkedIn series was a huge help with that. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm actually going to steal that screenshot real fast. There we go. Got it. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Let me mute all this. There we go. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do now, if you have, hopefully by now you have your Visual Studio Code up and running and you've got all the good stuff going there for you. And I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to images for this project. From what I have in my mind, we're going to need at least 4 images. So we're going to completely do this together from scratch. And we're either going to do this in an amazing way or we're going to crash and burn miraculously. But nevertheless, we'll figure it out together and we'll code something great. But not only will we code something great, we'll be able to answer some questions. So if you have questions, definitely drop them in the chat. And as I code, I'm going to try and multitask and give you some really good answers. So I'm going to keep you engaged. I'm going to keep you coding. We're going to make some cool stuff and it's going to be fantastic. So, are there plenty of remote jobs on the tech market? Right now, there's a lot of remote jobs on the tech market. With that being said, you're competing with the entire world for positions at this point. Because when it's remote, it's not just remote for you, it's remote for everybody. So you have to make sure whatever you're bringing to the table is that good for someone to understand, accept, and need that on their team. So if you're coming in with the bare minimum, that might not be the solution for them. If they want someone that can do the bare minimum, they can find that in any market. You need to really focus on what you're able to offer to a team and why you are the correct solution for that team. If you can do that, remote opportunities will definitely be there for you. But also don't disregard the opportunities in your local market. There are plenty of opportunities all over this world, regardless of where you are from. And everyone has a problem that they need solved, and you could be the solution maker for them. All right. So the first thing that I'm doing here, and by the way, if you don't know, this stream is brought to you by Pluralsight. Pluralsight is an amazing partner. We've done some great things together. Take advantage of free April if you're not right now. Completely free for new people. Take advantage of all the learning opportunities, the courses. Use that as your way to jumpstart your 2021. Thank you, Pluralsight, for all the things that you're doing. And so one thing that I'm doing right now here, so I'm here and we're going to go to unsplash.com. We need a couple images. And Unsplash is a great website where you can use images for free. So they don't necessarily have to be paid images. And we're going to do here's what my goal for this is to create an application that you can keep building upon. And one great way to do that is a furniture store. So let's go ahead and get a furniture store looking image here. And let's see. This looks cool. I'd rather have something a little bit longer though. Let's see. Let's look. What can we find, y'all? That looks pretty furniture store-esque. All right, we'll download this for free. Huge shout out to Francisca Tosolini for making this image for free. So we have the very first image that we'll be using. We need a second image. All right, we need a second image here. Let's go ahead and pick. We need something that looks just like the average living room. That would be cool. I don't like the colors. This would be great. So this would be for our, so we're going to have a hero image. That first image will be our hero image. This will be an image that is strictly set up for our living room set. And now we're going to need a bedroom image. And the cool thing about this kind of project, if you really build it out, you can absolutely use this on your portfolio. You can use this on as a way to showcase to employers that you're doing some great stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And so we have our bedroom, and let's do a last one, a kid's room. And I'll show you what we're talking about here in a second. That's a great image. So download it. Cool. So now we have 4 images. So I'm going to come back to my VS Code, and I need to open a folder. So let's go to Documents. We'll create a new folder here. Code. We'll go ahead and set that folder up. And now doing so, I'm going to create another folder inside of this. Images. And now we have our images. So this one we know is going to be the kids room. So I'm going to rename this kids room. We're going to come here and drag this image here. And this is going to be the bedroom. So we'll rename this bedroom. Drag that one there. Let's drag and let's drag. So we know this is going to be our hero image, hero. And then we know this one is going to be, don't delete, rename living room. All right, so we have our 4 images inside of our image folder. Don't ask me again, move. All right, cool. So we have our images. And now outside of our images, we're going to create our very first file. So we'll do new file, and we'll name this the index.html file. Now, does anybody not understand what an index.html file is? In case you don't, that is your HTML file. That's exactly where our code is going. We use index because that is our natural conventions, that your home page, your landing page is always your index page. You can name it whatever you want, but index is traditionally the go-to metrics. Cool. I didn't know LinkedIn did live streams. Now you do. All right. Just came in. What are we building? We're building a furniture store kind of landing page thing. I don't think I'm going to fully build it out, but I want to show you different ways that you can utilize CSS animations to do things. And the one thing that I really want to cover, and the reason why I thought of this was I was just in a Twitter space and we talked about this, where when you're scrolling on a page, and as you scroll, new content flies in. So it's not already there. So I want to show you how you can build that animation for yourself, but we're also going to go over some hero animations to kind of make your page get a little bit more of a good look and kind of get things going for you in a great way. So we're going to be covering all that. Why is this dude using Windows? I have a MacBook right here, but for me, I like using Windows when I code. It really doesn't make a difference to me. But for me, it's easier when I'm explaining something to someone that uses a Windows. If that is the product that I am using as well, it kind of makes it easier for me to explain things. And I know many people use Windows all over the world. So it doesn't matter if you use Windows. It doesn't matter if you use Mac. I'll use whatever somebody wants me to use as long as I get a paycheck for it, right? So it doesn't really matter. Cool. That's exactly what I love seeing. All right. So we have our index HTML page, and I'm going to show you cool little snippets and shortcuts that you can do to help you out. So if you ever want to build out your boilerplate for your HTML page, all you have to do is hit !tab, and it gives us all this content here for us instead of us doing it ourselves. Your title is the content that is shown in the tab of your page. So we're going to name this furniture demo. You can name it whatever you want. And the first thing that I want to do here is I type in link, go to CSS, and it will automatically link our future CSS page that we're going to build. And since we know that we're going to use JavaScript, and it's not going to be a ton of JavaScript, it's going to be just enough for you to do something really cool with. I'm going to go to script source, and the source is asking for a name, and I know I'm going to name this app.js. I always name my first JavaScript file app.js. So right now, I have my style sheet already linked. I have my style sheet already linked. I have my script source, and I know I'm going to need a couple extensions to make this happen. So what are those extensions? One extension you should definitely have on your VS Code is Live Server. Live Server is the best. You want to find this one with a purple icon here. So we're going to install that. It's installing. What's going on? Yes, you can download VS Code at that link. It is completely free. So we're installing Live Server, and then also we're going to go ahead and add Prettier. And so we have that installing as well. and we're going to go to our extension settings. And I just want to verify here that my tab spaces are 2, and then we're going to go here and we'll do format on save. And we're going to click that. So that way, anytime I save a file, it automatically formats it. So if I go here and I do this by accident, I save it, go ahead and hit format document, configure, and set it for prettier. So now if I save it, it automatically formats it to where I need it to be. Perfect. So little things that will literally make your entire development experience streamline and be so much better. All right, close all that good stuff there. And so the first thing that we need to do, we know, and I'm a big fan of comments, so we'll definitely be commenting this as we go. And the first area that we need to do is our hero section. So what do we need in our hero section? I'm a big believer in pseudocode to real code, and I'm going to show you that method as I go so you understand the concepts of what I'm trying to do, what I'm explaining, and you can kind of understand the logic between what I'm doing. So, and this is honestly the same way that I teach my students. I teach at a coding bootcamp, and this is the same way that I teach my students as well. Stream is looking a little laggy. Video is not clear for me. I wonder why that is. Is anyone else having issues with the stream? We'll see if that happens. All right. So a couple things that we can do here. Number one, I know I need a hero image. I want this image to span across the, yeah, it's fine for me. It's fine. Clear for me. Cool. All right. Perfect. So I want the image to span across the entire width of the page. So when someone lands on it, I know that this is the image that I want them to see. I want hero image to have some kind of subtle animation. And so what I'm thinking for that is like a zooming effect, ever so slight, just to give the animation a little depth. And I know I want to have an overlay on the image so that way I can add text to the image and make it look good. I want a clear CTA, which stands for call to action. And as a developer in the industry, that's going to be something that you have to become comfortable with understanding, because any business that you work for, they want to convert viewers or users into customers. And one way to do that is a call to action, and placing your call to actions in very strong positions will have you stand out, especially as an aspiring developer. That will definitely help you stand out. So we want a clear call to action on that hero area. So that way, if someone lands on that area, we can give them one thing to do right away. And I can figure that out as we go. And after hero section, one thing that I want to do is I want to have several content boxes / areas. Whoops. And in those several content boxes, as I scroll on the page, have the content fly in. Perfect. So what I want to happen is as I scroll, like I'm scrolling here, I want all that content to start flying in. And it kind of gives a very cool effect, and people really love it, and some don't understand how to make that happen. So we're going to cross that and create that today. So here is our project requirements that we're going to strive to hit today. All right. So first thing that we're going to do is, and I'm going to use several shortcuts, and I'm going to teach you these shortcuts as we go, so you can always do them afterwards, and you'll start coding way faster, and you'll feel really cool about all the things that you're doing. So as you know, right now, just to clarify, we're inside of our body. We're inside of our hero section. I should probably put these project requirements outside of the hero section here. All right. So here's our hero section, and I'm going to make another comment here, and this will be end of hero section. And then after that, we'll have our content section. End of content section. And I just like having clear lines. You can do whatever you want. That's just something that I've been comfortable with. But so I know right now that I'm going to have a hero image. I want that image to have an overlay. So one way that I can keep both of those things together would be to place them inside of a container. So I'm going to do div dot container, press tab, and automatically you'll see div class container. So that dot represents the class. And if I wanted, I can do div hashtag container. And when I tab, it will automatically change that to an ID. So as we know, a dot represents a class. The hashtag symbol represents an ID. So I'm going to delete that there since I need the class. And what we're going to do here is I know I'm going to do div dot overlay. I know I'm going to create an overlay. And after that div dot overlay, but still inside that container, I'm going to do a div dot image container. And this is going to hold the image that I am producing and that I have. So far, is this clear for everyone? Any questions, comments, or concerns yet? If you do, please drop them in the chat so that way I can see them. And one thing that we're going to do here now is, we're going to do div dot hero text. And this is going to hold the text that we're going to be producing. And I'm going to have an input field. Oh, no. I'm going to have an input field, but not yet. I'm going to have an H1, and that's going to be the text. And so, you know what we can do? I know what we can do. We can build a find a store near you kind of situation. So we'll do find furniture, and I'm going to put a line break here. Right? And then we'll do find furniture near you. And so this line break will kind of have that text going to the side, and it'll make sense more in a second. And after that line break, I'm going to do another container. And inside that container, I'm going to have an input, and the type will be text. And you can just do input tab to create that. And I'm going to do this as a class of zip code. And I'll go ahead and put the name as zip code. Perfect. And so that'll be self-closing. And then after the input type, we'll have a button, and the class will be btn. And we'll name the button, we'll put the text on the button zip code. Perfect. So now if I save that, it formats that. And now I can right click since I installed live server, and I can do open with live server, allow access. Whoops. Okay. So it's not allowing me to, oh, here it is. Perfect. So right now I have find furniture near you. I have the input field, and I have the zip code there. And so I'm going to put this here so I can continue to see that changes. Andrew Ursher, the very good friend of mine, amazing human being. He actually started on freecodecamp.org, ended up landing at a major company in the Memphis, Tennessee area. And he is a phenomenal human being. Thank you, Andrew, for coming by. Appreciate you. DevOps directive. I'm ready to buy some furniture. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's already working, y'all. All right. So at this point, we have our hero section. We have our text that we're going to have on top of the hero. We have our input, and we have our button. So what we need to do now is make some CSS. So we're going to do a new file, and we're going to name it style.css. And if you remember correctly, in case you didn't do that, we linked our CSS here. Make sure you do that, because that is probably one of the most common things that I see with beginners is they forget to link their CSS sheets, and they forget to link their JavaScript sheets. So make sure that you're doing that. You want to link your CSS before the page. You want to link your JavaScript at the bottom. And the reason why is you can absolutely link this JavaScript at the top, but what happens is it runs before the rest of your code. If you do it at the bottom, it runs after the page renders. So that basically helps so you can avoid issues. All right. So we have our style.css that we're going to be working on here. And let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. Cool. And thank you. Hi from Tunisia. What's going on? It's good to see you doing well, Danny. Thank you, Bree. I appreciate that. So back to here. We're going to go ahead and do the basics here. So we're going to go ahead and do our root styling. So we're going to do our margin of 0. We're going to go ahead and do our padding as 0. Oops, I spelled this wrong. margin is 0, heading is 0, and box sizing, border box. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and do our root. And the only reason I'm doing this is to help out. I want to teach you how to basically set up your colors that you're going to use. And by setting those up, you can call them as variables instead of using their hex code or hash code every single time. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do blue. Let's do blue coloring. And we will set that hash as 002 B8F. That was just a random color that I literally just looked up before doing this. And just in case, I'll add a mid blue color, just because I don't know which one's going to actually look good or not. And so we'll do 3B A0FF. And we'll save those. And now we can use CSS variables to call those every single time. Already they coming after me. Oh, do you even code, bro? Oh, that's hilarious. Awesome. All right. So one thing that we're going to do here is the first thing that I want to actually pay attention to is our container. So we have our container. So we have our container. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do our position as relative. We're going, dang, I'm just making spelling mistakes everywhere. Position of relative. We're going to do our height as 100 view heights. And what 100 view heights necessarily means is I'm splitting this page into 100 pieces, and I plan to use 100 of those. And then as I scroll, it will no longer take effect. If I were to do a percentage, it would be slightly different. And I'm going to do the width as 100 view, 100% actually. We could do 100 view width as well, but 100% will work. And the biggest thing is overflow is definitely going to be hidden. All right. And so now we're going to go ahead and focus on, if you remember going back here, we have our image container. So we have our overlay here and we have our image. So the image is going to go under the overlay. So we're going to go ahead and do image container. And we're going to go with the same thing of a position relative. We got a bunch of comments coming in. Hi, Danny. I love reading your post every day on LinkedIn. Very much. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope it helps you on your journey. That's exactly why I do it. The topic, we're building a furniture store website. Well, we're going to just miss some 10 sections, and hopefully that will give you a basic template to continue iterating and building off of. I was totally kidding. That's exactly the way I took it, brother. Thank you. All right. And so we're going to go ahead and do a background image, and we're going to do the URL. And if you remember here, our URL was /images, and our hero image is there. And so if I save that and I come back to the page, let's stop and open with live server again. Let's see what happens. Nothing is loading. What's happening here? Don't show again. Go live. Well, this is interesting. Why is nothing popping up? Hey, Veshu. Well, we have some issue here we need to figure out. Nothing is loading. I don't know if we have a bigger issue or what. It's not even opening. Save. Container, image container. What is possibly blocking it? Whoops. So I see the source text there. Inspect. Does somebody see something? Try and clear a cache. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Let's do a hard reload. No, it's not getting it. Let me try this. No, incognito is not working either. We haven't written too much to create a bug yet. What's going on? Inspect elements showing everything is good. Let's just go ahead and try and clear this out for a second. I highly doubt that caused an issue, but just in case, maybe? No? We previously had content on this page. So let's see here. Container. So how about this? Oh, cool. I got it now. I'm so foolish, y'all. Y'all won't even believe what I just did. So this is what I was seeing why it wasn't loading, but the content dropped down to the bottom. And I wasn't even looking at the scroll bar. Oh, the things that I do to myself. The things that I do to myself. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, y'all. Y'all would think I didn't get paid for this for a living, right? Unbelievable. Okay. So that's funny. So we have the background for this. And so now we will do background. That's so irritating for me. But anyway, so we'll do a background size of cover. We'll do a background position. And we'll make that position center. And so now I'm going to go ahead and create the height for this. So the height will be 100%. The width will also be 100%. The margin top is going to be 0 view heights. And let's save that. And now when I come back here, you see this is the hero image that we're going to be using. We scroll down and we have define furniture near you. We have our input field in the zip code. Happens to all of us. Yes, it does. We're doing it live and we haven't pre-prepared this. So yeah, the devil is in the details. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. So, so they Google my application down. There you go. It's actually a bit reassuring to see you make rookie mistakes. We all do. Honestly, we all do. All right. So this is our hero image. This is our input fields. This is our text right there. All right, cool. We're making some progress now. There we go. All right. So the one thing that I want this to do is I want to have an animation here. So we do animation and we're going to name it scale. And I want it to take place over like 15 seconds. And the goal is for it to scale out. So even though nothing's really happening, it kind of gives this like this look and feel that we're making something really like engaging happen. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do it keyframes. So at keyframes, and we're going to call this scale. And inside of keyframes, we're going to dictate what we want to happen at 0% and what we want to happen at 100%. So at 0%, we want to transform. And when we're transforming, we're scaling it from 1.5 times. All right. And at 100%, basically the finished result, we want that transform to be at a scale of 1. So now if I save that and I come back and the page loads, oops. So when the page loads, you see now, just by that little bit of code, it gives us like this effect that it's constantly zooming out. So that kind of gives like a good look and a appeal of when the user first lands on the page. So again, we refresh, it starts back, it scales out slowly and works over the next 15 seconds. Text looks blurry on my monitor. There's an option in VS Code for auto aliasing fonts to make it better. Workbench, font and listing auto. You're doing great. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. Does anyone else have that same concern with the font being a little blurry? Please make it full-size window. What do you mean? Workbench, font and listing auto. So what am I? Workbench. I don't see that there. Explain further on this workbench. Whoops, I don't know what I pressed there. Just joined. What are we building? We're building a demo for a furniture website, and hopefully we give you enough tools in the pieces to make things happen with some CSS animations that you can keep building on after that. Nope, videos. Font looks fine on my end. Nope, crystal clear. Thank you, thank you. I mean, the VS Code is maximized. I can make it bigger though. Does that help? Font is good on my end. It's fine. Thank you. Thank y'all. Okay. All right. I'm trying to please so many people at the same time, but I want to make sure that you're able to read, understand, and learn everything together. Font looks good. Reading through a 13-inch laptop. Perfect. Looks okay for me in 720p also. That's perfect then. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and work on this overlay real fast, and you're going to really see how things pop out once we do that overlay from just having that image. So we're going to do a position of absolute. We're going to do a height of 100%. We're going to do a width of 100%. Because the goal is to have this lay right on top of the image that we have as a hero image. We're going to do the top of 0, do a left of 0, because we want this to start at the top and the left. We don't want any spaces there. And we want that background. Now the background, this is where we kind of get like into RGBA. So we're going to do RGBA, and we want it to be dark, but we want it to be like transparent. So we'll do a 000. And then we'll do the last one, the alpha channel. The alpha channel means the transparency of the image of a 0.4. And we're going to do a Z index on this of 1. Meaning I want this to supersede that image. So whenever you add Z index, it means what position we're landing things on. So everything is automatically at a Z index of 0. When you place it on 1, it means I want that on top of that. So we'll save that. We'll come back here. And now you'll see it's slightly darker. So now if I place text on top of this, it's really going to pop. So let me go ahead and refresh this. And now it's zooming out, slightly darker, and we're going to have some text on top, and it's really going to pop in a really cool way. All right. And so now, we have our hero text that we need to work on. So the hero text that we're going to work on was it hero text? Yeah, hero text. So hero text. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do a display. We're going to use Flexbox because Flexbox allows us to center things, align things. I love Flexbox, huge fan of it. Definitely learn more about it. But we're going to use Flexbox here. So we're going to do a display of Flex. We're going to justify the content, and we're going to leave that at center. And then I want to align these items. I want to align them to the left side. So we'll go ahead and do that. And I want this to be in a column. So we'll do a flex direction of column. Yep. And so if I save that, let me refresh. Oh, wait, I still need to do a couple more things. I just remembered. Okay, so I need the position to be absolute. I need it to be top, and we'll do it like a third way of the screen. So we'll do like around top 35%, and that'll keep it responsive as well. We'll do a top left of 10%. And we will go ahead and do some font work. So we'll do a font size. Let's try 2, and we can always fix that up if we need to. And obviously, since the overlay will be dark, we want that text to be bright. So let's stick with FFF. We'll just do white text to see how that looks. And we'll do, I remember now that when I wrote the text here, like I used capitals, lowercase. Instead of doing that, we can do a cool thing. Instead of changing that, we can do a text transform, and we'll just do uppercase. And the cool thing with that too is if we ever have to fix that text, we never have to go back and change all that. And now if you remember, the overlay was z-index 1, but I want my text on top of that. So otherwise it will fall below it. So we'll do a z-index this time of 2. So if I save that and I come back here, let me bring this here. You now see we have this text here. It's very bright compared to the dark background behind it. And it is left aligned. And I think 2 rem is a little bit too big. Let's try and go back maybe like 1.5 and see how that looks. All right. Yeah, 1.5 looks way better. Well, we could do a 1.8 maybe. Yeah, 1.8 is perfect. And now we have our fine furniture near you. And we can go ahead and change the font family. Let's get some sans serif in here, make things look good. There we go. And now, if you see, our text is left aligned. It's white. It looks good. We can change the colors if we want to, but I think that's fine for exactly what we're doing right now. All right. I love coding. I love that you love coding. Me too. I love coding. To be honest, if you follow me for any bit of time, you know I absolutely love everything about technology and programming, and it gave me the career that I have. It gave me the life that I have. And that's kind of the reason why I'm so passionate about doing coding demos or teaching people or helping people, or I even teach at a completely free boot camp for the students, and it's location-based before you ask, so you have to live in the area for it. But for me, it's because I know what it gave me and I know what it can give others. And this isn't like some, get rich quick scheme, or it's not like, oh, you learn how to code and 5 payments of $599, you'll be rich. That's not what this is. You're learning a very in-demand set of skills. And it's so in demand that there are a ton of people that are looking for developers to fill the void. You need to learn the necessary set of skills involved to fill that void. So this isn't a, no, we've never ever said coding is easy. To me, programming is really hard. But we never said it's easy, but we absolutely said it's possible. If you learn what's necessary, if you produce the things that is necessary, if you can stand out in the hiring processes, and if you can put yourself in front of these prospective employers, you have the opportunity to make exactly what you want happen. So I'm more than willing to do what is necessary to give you the necessary set of skills to ensure that we can take you down this road. All right. So I hope that helped. And so now let's go back here. I know we have this container here, and we call this zip code. So I want to work on this entry field. So we have zip code, and what I want to do is I want to give it a width, and we'll try 15 rem for now. How that looks. We'll do a height of 40 pixels, and then we'll do a border radius, and we'll add that as 30 pixels, I think. Let's see how that looks. And now this is where we're working on our call to action. Find furniture near you. This is going to be a field where the customer can enter any zip code where they live. And we're going to have this button overlap here to give a really cool effect. All right. So we got that here. And so now let's work on this button a little bit. So did I name it button or BTN? BTN. Cool. So we have BTN. And so what we're going to do here is, of course, we need the position this time to be absolute. Because what we're going to tell the button to do is, instead of staying next to it, I want it to lay on top of it. So we're going to do a margin left. And it's going to be like 100 pixels. It might be minus 100 pixels. And let's see. Yeah. So if you see now, just doing those two things, the button is overlapping here. That's exactly what we want. Is this going to be available as a video? Yes. I mean, I'm going to leave the live stream up. I think Pluralsight's going to do the same thing. And I may end up making this like a refined video. I didn't really prepare anything. I just got some things jotted down. And so I'm trying to kind of going off of that. But we're almost done with this whole coding demo as we speak. So we're getting really, really cool. This is what I loved. This is giving me ideas for my yet to be built portfolio. That is the goal. Whenever I do content, I specifically think, what can I do that sparks ideas? Because you don't necessarily have to go off of what I'm doing, but I want and need you to get an idea and run with it. So whether that is sparking an idea for your portfolio, or sparking an idea for a portfolio item or project that you can have on your portfolio, or projects that you can present to employers and interviewers, that is what I'm after here. So, and even that's the reason why I'm not actually giving you a full completed project. I'm giving you all the necessary steps in the content sections, and then I want you to iterate upon it. This is like the stepping stones or the building blocks to building a bigger application. So I'm glad that that's working for you, Crystal. This is so cool. This is so cool. Thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying it. That's awesome. I love this feedback. So thank you. Hey, Danny, really enjoying the stream so far. Thank you. I appreciate that. Are you a full stack developer? I am. So my original stack that I was ever started in technology was Java Angular, and then I switched to React and Golang, and I absolutely love Golang, and I think that it's going to be like a top level language in the next few years. It's already growing massively. I love everything about Golang, and I'm planning to stick with that for a long time. Right now, I'm exploring Android development for a lot of reasons, and I'm really excited about the industry, and I'm actually trying to develop a couple tech talks with Android development, especially geared towards beginners. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be building some cool stuff. I'll write a book with your wisdom. It's not going to be easy, but it's possible. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed that and like that. We got a lot of people from LinkedIn here today. That's pretty awesome. Wondering why we're not setting the height value to a relative unit. So for me, like I'm thinking of like responsiveness, but I'm also, this is just the way that I'm doing it. You can absolutely do it any way that you want, and you can explore different options. The cool thing about this is I'm planning to build something and put it in your hands, and you can run with it. You can build whatever you want. You can style it however you want. I will never ever claim to be a designer. I am not. Like I could barely match my clothes, you know. So if you can make this even look even better, absolutely, let's do that. Love this concept. Here's the starter kit. Now go build something cool with it. Exactly. That is the thing. I've never been a huge fan of tutorials that give you everything and then you kind of end up in tutorial hell. And this is my way of counteracting that. Let me build this half the way with you. Let me build that structure with you, and then have you start doing things and exploring. That helps you grow as a developer. And most of the development is I need you to do X, Y, Z. We don't necessarily know how. That is you as a developer. It's your job to figure that out. And this is a perfect way to start getting your feet wet with that. Would we be able to cross post this to YouTube, or will the LinkedIn SWAT team kick you? Right now, we are streaming this on YouTube. We are streaming this on LinkedIn, on Periscope. It's being streamed everywhere. And I think the total viewers right now is around 500 people. So that's probably also why the chat is so active, and I'm trying to keep up with it. But it is being streamed everywhere. All right. So back to this. So we have our margin top of 7 pixels. That'll bring it down a little bit. We're doing a height of 40 pixels. We're going to do a border radius, and the border radius is going to match the other one at 30 pixels. Oh, whoops. And we're going to now try and use our what do you call it? Our background color. And if you remember, no, it should just be background. Oops. Our background. And if you remember, we initialized a variable above. So let's go ahead and go with our blue coloring, and we can save that there. And that now gives us this value here, blue coloring here. And this really becomes useful when you have an application with a ton of colors and you don't want to remember all the hexes. You can just place that there, and you can just use that variable to call that color. It's really useful in the long term. And so I'm seeing now that blue coloring, whoops, is pretty dark. We could try and see though. I think it's a little too dark, but we can try and see. Let's go ahead and do the color here as white and see how that contrasts. Contrasts pretty well. Let's try that. So let's do a font family. Throw sans serif in here, and we'll do font weight, and we want this to be bolder. And then we can go ahead. Well, we can do 900. 900 looks good. And then we can go here. I definitely want to make this button longer. Let's do width. Wait, do I already have width defined here? I have height. So let's do width, and we'll do the width. No, don't I have? I don't think so. Let's try 7 rem. Ooh, now we're looking good. So I need this to go up a little bit more. So I'm going to reduce that. But now that is looking clean. So let's do margin top of 6, margin top of 0. Just ever so slightly at 1 pixel. And now you can see it needs to be pushed over a little bit. But now we have this effect here where the button is right inside of that. Looks a little clean, doesn't it? Variables in CSS, is it possible? Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Integer. Inderjit, we just did it. Like, it's such a useful tool to have. So here we can enter our zip code, and then we can set this up eventually, not now, obviously, to click on this, and this would show us if we listed all of our furniture stores. We could search in their area to see if they had that. Or you could do this, for whatever thing you want, or enter your email to enter our newsletter or things like that. These are really good call to actions for a business. And if this is a furniture store with multiple locations, this would be right where they would want that call to action to be, to get a customer looking at where they can get their furniture locally. Okay. So perfect. And let me look back here for one thing. And we have our position. So I have it as 100 pixels. Let's try 125. We'll increase that width ever so slightly to, let's say, 8 rem. And that looks clean. That looks so good. Perfect. So we have our button. We have our zip code. This looks great. All right. So now that we've finished that section off, we're going to leave that exactly the way it is. And as you can see, well, you can't see, but on the monitor that I have here, it's an ultra wide monitor, and it still looks great. So it's completely responsive, and it's looking fantastic. All right. So now what we need to do this time around is we need to build out some content sections. So if you remember, I made these comments here. So that's the end of the hero section. And now we are in our content section. And so what I'm going to do, oops, I just left that message there. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create 3 content sections, since we have 4 images. One will be for like a living room, one will be for like a bedroom, one will be for a kid's room. And we'll have it so as the user scrolls through the page, they start zooming in instead of already being there statically. So it adds a little bit of pizzazz inside. A little bit of padding inside the input box. Sure, we can do that. You can do that. Why not? Let's try it. See how it looks. Let's do padding left. 10 pixels. No. You can try. Oh, that's button. Whoops. Padding left. Actually, we just do padding period. We'll do 5 pixels. Yeah, so we do a 510. It puts that text right there, and it takes it away from the corner. Yep. And it's there. All right, y'all. Now we got that. Cool. All right. So let's get this content section going on. So what do we want for a content section? So going back to our project thing right here, several content boxes. As I scroll, we want the content to fly. So as of right now, we've definitely filled and created all of this right here. So we're in the last parts of this demo. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to create a div, and we're going to name that div content container. And inside the content container, we're going to have an image, and we can do, so we can do div image, because we're going to have multiple images, but we want them to do the exact same thing for each one. And we'll do image source equals, what did I name this? Images. Oops. Images. And what did we name this? Bedroom? Oh, we're doing living room first. Living room dot JPEG. All right. And so we'll do self-closing tags. We'll save that. Just checking to make sure it worked. And so we come and we have our image, and it's definitely insanely big. Oh, Danny, what's up? What's going on? All right. I'm going to try and answer. So we're getting near the end of this. So if y'all want to start dropping some questions that you want me to answer, I'll spend an extra like 30 minutes or so giving some answers to questions that we're going to be asking in there. And so we have our image here that we're going to be working on, and we're going to have div, and we're going to name this class text, and we can have the text here to be let's do like an H1 just for it, and we can say living room furniture, and yeah, that's it. So then what we can do here is we can copy this and we can paste this again and again. We can add a little bit of separation so we can read this easier. And what we'll do here this time, so instead of living room, we have bedroom, and then the text here. Oh, no, we should add this one as bedroom, and we can name this bedroom furniture. And then we can come to this one and say this last image would be the kids room, and we can name this kids room furniture. So if we save that, show me how I can DDoS IP. Yeah, that's not happening, bro. But thank you. So if we come back here right now, we have our landing area, which looks great still. And we scroll down here and we have our image. And then after the image, we'll have, obviously they're big images, living room furniture, et cetera, et cetera. So the first thing that we definitely need to do is fix the height of these images. And so let's go ahead and have the styling section, and we'll go to the content containers. So content -- container. And we're going to do, again, using flex blocks, display of flex. We're going to align our items center, and we're going to justify the content as center. And this keeps everything centered. And here's what we're going to do before we do any more. But what we know we need to do here is we'll add a comment here. Add a CSS animation to have the content containers slide in when the page is scrolled. And we can go ahead back here, press enter so it's on one area. So this is our to-do, right? And so always whenever you do a to-do, add it as capital so that way you can see that easily. And that lets us know this is something that we need to come back to and fix. So the first thing that we need to do right now is we need to go and fix our images. So we have our max width, and the max width is 100%, meaning it cannot exceed that no matter what, all right? And so that means like if it has to be responsive and go from mobile, etc., I don't want it to take up more than 100%. We're gonna set the height as 500 pixels. So no matter what, it's not gonna exceed 500 pixels. So we save that and come back, and now everything is not going insane, right? So we have our image here, we have this, we have a bedroom furniture, we have a kid's room, etc. Oops. All right. Cool. When JavaScript naming variables using camel case became the norm, and you use the naming conventions to save your images. Yep. Honestly, I'm just used to it. All right. Cool. So we know we want our text to go. So we'll focus on the text for a second and just fix that up slightly. So we can do a font size, and let's go ahead and do like 2 rem just to make it big. And then we can do padding left to space it just a little bit. And we can do like, I don't know, 30 pixels. So we can save that, look back. Yep. And it looks good. Cool. All right. So this is just giving you like generic templates that you can use for yourself. So now, how can we fix this to do? Well, the first thing that we're going to need to do here is we're going to need to create a transform. And so the transform we're going to create is a translate X. And as soon as you start typing translate, you'll see all the different translations you can have. We're doing a translate X because it's the X axis. We want it to slide in this way. And so what we're going to do is a minus 200%, meaning 200%, I want it to be off the page and then it can slide in. And what we can do here is we can do a transition. And with this transition, we're saying we're calling the transform. And calling that transform, I want it to have a half a second process of easing in. Cool. So we have our ease in function there. And so from there, what we're going to also add, and we're going to use JavaScript to do this, is we're going to add an appear function or an appear class. And that class basically says when appear is there, show this box, and when it is not there, take it away. And so we're going to do content container dot appear. So there's no space in there, it's together. And we'll do transform translate x, and we're going to place that as 0. So meaning originally on the beginning of the page, this right here is going to be minus 200% off the page. When we scroll onto that area, I want the x-axis to be 0, meaning it is now centered on that page where we want that. All right. Cool. So that is it for our CSS. Now we need to start bringing in the JavaScript. And it's not a ton of JavaScript, which makes this really cool. So we know we have our class for this section here. All this right here is inside of one container, right? And that container is the content container. So we want everything, the image and the text, to slide in. Oh my, Francisco, what's going on, brother? Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. So what we can do here is we have our const, and we're going to declare our variable of content. Now, if you don't know, there are several types of variables in JavaScript. There's a var, which you basically changes the scope of things, and you don't ever want to use var. That before ES6, that was the norm. It is no longer the norm anymore. It will make everything globally scoped, and you'll face a ton of problems. You don't want that issue. So now we have things called const and let. Now, the thing with const is when you declare it, it is there to be used anywhere, or you can use let, and it will only survive and live in the scope of that function. So it's very useful. You'll definitely love it and get a lot of use out of it. Explore it further if you need to, but that will definitely be something awesome for you to add to your tool set. And it is the norm in the industry, and you won't see too much of that var. So if you learn var from the basic JavaScript tutorials, grasp onto using const and let. You'll save yourself a lot of headaches down the road. All right, so we're doing const of content, we're doing a document, and we're going to do a query selector for all. And I want to select all because there's more than one, right? All of the content containers. Oops, add in the S, but there's no S. All right, and so what we're doing now is I want the height. First, I want the event listener, add event listener, and I want the event listener to be a scroll. So when they scroll, and we're going to create a function, and we're going to name that function easeContent. So when it scrolls, we want to call this function right here that I'm writing right now easeContent, and that is the way we can call that function there. And so let's declare this function. What is this function even going to be doing? So we have our function of easeContent, and inside here, we're going to create another variable called const. Oh, we can be let. Const is fine, whatever. Const bottom of. Now, I'm a big fan of long descriptive names for your variables, because if I look at it right away, I need to know what is that thing. So for my tutorials, you'll never see X or Y. I'm a very big fan of being very descriptive about your variable. So bottom of page. And this bottom of the page, what we're going to do is we're going to do a window that inner height. So the window means the height of our current window, and the inner height means what is the height? What is that value? And I want that to be 80%. So we can do times 0.8. And that basically gives us 80% of that window height. So that means I want that little bit of buffer at the bottom. If that buffer is empty, bring in the next content box for us. If it isn't, then we just leave it the way it is. All right. And now we're going to do a for loop, but since we have multiple content containers, we can do a for each instead. So for each content container, so we'll do content dot for each, and the for each is going to be, and we're going to do like an arrow function. So we'll do contents arrow function this out. And the arrow function, very useful. You'll learn a lot about that in ES6. And we'll do const top of content. And if the top of the content, right, I want it to be contents dot get bounding, and you can see right here, client rect dot top. And what this is it's a method, and you can highlight this. So it's a method, and basically what it's doing is it creates a rectangle in that area, and it's looking for that height or whatever that is in that area. What is this? That's a good habit. I'm also implementing the same for my Laravel project. Yes. Long names, very good. You can't go wrong with them, because the hardest thing for me as a developer, and obviously it's easy when you have like 100 lines of code, right? But when you're dealing with thousands, I don't need to be scrolling up, down to remember what this one variable does. So if it's descriptive, you never have to worry about constantly commenting or adding documentation for that one variable to keep it in the developer's mind. All right. So we want to get that get bounding client rect method, and we want to find out where we are inside that rectangle. And now we can do something really cool. Instead of just doing a basic if statement, actually, let's do an if statement, and then I'll show you how to make it cooler. So we can do it if the top of content is less than the bottom of page, right? So even just reading those variables, we know exactly what's going on. Then I want you to go ahead and do contents.add class list. Class list dot add. And we're adding that appear class. So basically this now adds a class onto that content for us. Else, I want to do contents dot class list dot remove. We want to remove that class of appear. And so if I go ahead and chime that in. So as you see here, I'm going to refresh this page. So we refresh. As I scroll, nothing is there. And as soon as I pass the 80% mark, this slides in. This slides in. This slides in. So you can see there, refresh again, slides in, slides in, slides in. And then if I scroll up, it slides out, slides out, slides out, and we're there. I think one thing that we can do, just to add a little contrast here, for the bedroom one, I can take this text here and put that before the image, save, and come back. And now I have this little like grid effect going on here to add a little bit of difference. So I can slide in, slides in that way, slide in. Then we can make those clickable, et cetera, et cetera. You can do whatever you want, but that's just giving you the rubric there. And as you scroll in and out, you can do that. Now, how can we take this if statement and take it to the next level? And one cool way to do that is something called ternary operators. The way a ternary operator works is we have our condition. We add that question mark that says this is the condition. If the condition is true, do this. Otherwise, colon, do that. So this would be our if and else. So how can we take this right here and turn that into that? So let me comment this out. And one thing that we could do is we can copy this. So top of content, greater than bottom of page, question mark. This is our if statement. So if that is true, then do this. If that is not true, then do that. Let's save that. Format this document too. So format document, configure with prettier. All right. And so now, as you can see, here's our if statement, that, and now we have a one-line solution instead of the 5 lines in that. And so we'll save that. We can come back. And so we have our landing area, and it still works exactly the same. But now we just took a basic concept and made it a little bit better. Please take my doubt. What do you mean? Maybe that was too good to just blew you away. I don't know. But just like that, we were able to now make that, and we have a perfect little rubric that you can take and start building more things off of. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned some great things. I try to use very like different concepts to give you different ideas to build off of, and I hope it worked out exactly the way I was intending. So let me go ahead, come back here, and I will stop sharing my screen. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time. Felt like that went really, really well. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat and I'm going to start answering them. I know I've had several questions throughout this entire live stream. And let me kind of go back up here. How do I stay motivated when learning how to code? Zane asked this earlier. Honestly, is that totally from scratch? Yes, it is. VS Code tab button not indenting. You may want to Google that. I can't debug that with you right now, but you should definitely be able to fix that. Is that totally from scratch? Yes, it is. This is really good. More energy to you. Thank you. I'm glad we were able to fix that, even though we had a couple issues. But that's literally what coding is. So for me, honestly, coding is all about the problem solving, figuring out problems, figuring out solutions, and making it happen. So we were able to make that happen there. So that's fantastic. And that's a great way that you can use those technologies to basically do that. And now you have like a basic rubric for building a furniture site, and you can start building and iterating more upon that. But you can even turn that into anything you want. You would turn it into an ice cream store, turn it into, a fashion website, turn it into whatever you want. But those concepts, those CSS animations, those will go a long way in helping you build out some really professional looking products. Thanks for this tutorial. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. Hey, how did you make the input text with that button and the animation? You when this is over, you can go back and look at that whole section. We coded it out with just HTML and CSS. It's really cool. It's a neat little effect that I've used several times, and it gives, like, even though it's simple, it makes the whole page look so much better. So yeah, look back at that. You didn't answer the other question. What was the other question? I don't know. What other question did you ask? You may want to ask it again. It might have been lost. Are you going to share the code? Sure, I'll put it up somewhere. If you're going for JavaScript development, what would you suggest for a student? Absolutely. I mean, for me, if you know me at all, I've always said, I don't care what you necessarily want to learn, so to speak. I think starting with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is the perfect way to start that journey. And one great way in particular is just building simple projects, because those small wins get you really hooked on the process of building, and it lets you know what the potential of all your projects can actually be. So you can absolutely become full stack, because even with JavaScript, you're going to learn frameworks. You can learn, backend with Node. There's a lot that you can do with JavaScript. There's a ton of demand for JavaScript. But I would also say, if your goal is to land jobs in tech, don't disregard enterprise level languages like your Java, your C#, your PHP, things like that, because they pay. Like, there are companies that need developers that can do that. And one great website to learn all that on, Pluralsight, our partners for today's stream. They've been very kind and helps make this happen. It's free April. Make sure you check out the website. It's completely free for the month of April. You still have several days left in this month to take advantage of all those free resources. So definitely check out our partners at Pluralsight. They're the reason why we're able to do this live stream today. And depending on where you're watching this, whether it's on their channels or mine, thank you for hanging out with us. It's been fantastic. Why did you call ease content after the on event listener? So ease content is our function. So that means every single time a scroll event occurs, we want to recall that function. Every single scroll. So whether they scroll up, whether they scroll down, we want that function called every single time. So ease content will be called every time that event listener happens. Wow, I've done the JavaScript libraries called GSAP and Scroll Magic and thought these abstracted a lot. This was a lot simpler. Yes, I'm a big fan of JavaScript libraries, but I think that's one thing you always have to be aware of, am I overcomplicating the solution, or is there a better, more efficient way to solve this problem? And that's, there's ways of doing that, and I'm glad you figured that out. Oh, let's see here. Wow, a lot of messages came in. I'm sorry I missed these. Is it possible to get a job in big tech if you don't have a CS degree? Yes. I am pretty much proof of that at this point, right? And I know many developers that have gotten jobs in tech without it. With that being said, it really depends on your area as well. So I don't have a job degree. I've never gone to college. I've been a developer now for several years. I now work at one of the top tech companies in the world. Um, I will say it is absolutely possible to get a job in tech without a degree. With that being said, if you live in a country, for example, like India, India is very strict on needing a degree to become a developer. With that being said, there are still other opportunities where you can freelance, where you can get your own clients. There are so many paths in tech besides a traditional job that even if you just learn tech to create a side business where you make a website and you sell things, or you make a SaaS product, you create tutorials, you create blogs, you can make a lot of money off of blogs with AdSense and things like that. There's so many ways into tech. It doesn't have to necessarily only be the path of landing a job with a company. You make your own path to make the job or whatever it can be. It really depends on where you're located and your part of the world. So, and besides the line number and check the tab. Oh, okay. How to stay motivated when learning. So, oh, yes, you're right. I didn't answer that question. I said it and I never answered it. Sorry, I got distracted. How to stay motivated when learning. The biggest thing that when I talk about is knowing why you're doing this. Coding is very hard. Why are you doing something that's taking all this time? Hold on one second. Coding is very hard. Why are you taking this journey? Why are you putting yourself through all this studying? Why are you putting yourself through all these headaches? Because coding isn't a simple process. Like you just saw, even in this live demo, I made a mistake, right? Why are you putting yourself through that? If you know why, it is very easy to stay committed to this path. Because here's the thing, coding, like when you get excited in the beginning, right? When you first start learning, it's exciting and you want to do this thing, and then something happens. Motivation and inspiration have an expiration, meaning after a certain amount of time, that motivation is going to expire. You're no longer going to want to do it, and something else has to take its place. And that thing has to be your commitment to your path, your discipline to getting this done, and your end goal, that why you want to do this, whether that's landing a job or changing your life or learning a new skill or producing a new product or making a new website or doing something that changes things for you. You need to know why you're doing this. And if you know that why, you will be very committed and easily be able to discipline yourself to stay committed to this path after that initial excitement wears off. Because here's the thing, coding is not a 2-month, 3-month kind of process. This is a process that you're going to be learning for the rest of your life. You're going to be building things for the rest of your life. And it's not always going to be the most fun thing in the world. So what are you going to do with these skills once you have it? And if you know what that is, you can make amazing things happen. You can make that career that you want come to life. You can make everything happen for you the way you want it. So identify why you're doing this. Why are you committed to this? Why? And I guarantee you that is going to help you do things. Ask yourself the questions that you don't want to answer. Coming to code is a good practice. Absolutely agree. Can you write Python? Python is one of the first languages I ever learned. I love Python. Python is great. For me, it wasn't the path that I could take, and I had to pivot. But Python is fantastic. And if you saw, I did a video on the top 7 languages to learn in 2021. Python was number 1. Even though I JavaScript and things like that, Python was still number 1 because it doesn't just cover web development, it covers a vast array of technologies. I'm a new member to this channel. I'm totally in. Thank you. I'm glad you're here, and I hope you stick around. I had to mute the sound because I'm in class, but I was still able to see small things I didn't know, like how the VS Code autocompletes entire tags attributes. I didn't know how to do that. And that is why I was showing you those techniques, because I know a lot of people don't know how to do these things. And I didn't want to show you too many techniques to throw you off, but little things can help you in your development process. Hey, long time no see. Glad to see you back on YouTube. Thank you. I'm always on YouTube. Definitely going to be doing a lot more stuff as well. I'm on Discord as well. Awesome. Check out my Discord channel. We got an amazing community there. Cool. BSc student. Thanks, Danny, for the tips and guidance. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed everything here. Luke, what language would you suggest learning after JavaScript? Java, C Sharp, Go, Python. They all seem pretty common in my job market. I would say if there are many Golang jobs, that would be my first suggestion because I definitely see that as a top language that's growing. But with that being said, depending where you are in Denver, I know C Sharp is really prominent. And there are tons of opportunities with C Sharp.net. I would highly recommend that as well. And that's coming from a Java guy. Like, Java, C Sharp, we're always fighting. But honestly, there's a ton of opportunities there. And to be completely honest with you, and this is me being very, very honest, I love all languages, all frameworks. I love it all. I don't care what you use to solve the problem. I just care that it's the right solution to solve that problem. Whatever that right tool is, use that. But I think Denver, for the most part, it's going to be C Sharp. Definitely look into your job listings, but I'm pretty confident that would edge everything else out. Oh, that's a good question. I'm a BSc student. Cool. I think that was the. Are you enjoying Android development? Are you building anything specific or just playing? Right now, I'm really enjoying Android development, to be completely honest with you. I enjoyed a lot. I've built a couple apps, but I'm really learning the in-depth things about it right now. My end goal with Android development is to develop a couple tech talks to deliver at some conferences and things like that on Android development, and to get kind of people excited about it. But I came in kind of like, why are people even doing this? And now I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun and really interesting. So I've really enjoyed it. Be on the lookout for some stuff like that. I may do like a couple crash courses into making like your first few applications with Android. And the cool thing with that is it would be really awesome to have in like an interview as well. I'm learning HTML, CSS though, and I don't know what to choose, JavaScript or PHP. I think JavaScript, for me, the way I explain HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is like this: like HTML is like the walls of your house, right? CSS is like the paint, the furniture. It makes everything look nice. JavaScript is like the electricity inside the house, and all three together they make a home. So having all three together really empowers you upon that. And you can use that JavaScript to go into React and start using JSX and all that good stuff. And then you can start using that JavaScript even to go in the back end. And you can pair that in most common stacks, end up using JavaScript in one way or another. So like Java Angular is a JavaScript framework, so you need JavaScript. Or you could do something like PHP pairs with JavaScript as well. So I highly recommend JavaScript first. And after that, you can go ahead with something else. All right. There's so many things in here. I'm trying to figure out. What kind of webcam do you use? This is a DSLR. Like this is an actual professional camera that I purchased to use for this. So it shoots everything in 4K and all that good stuff. Yo, Danny, tips for your first developer role and how to look to improve your skills. Hope all is well. All is well, because I'm getting to hang out with all y'all, right? So tips for your first dev role. And I'm guessing this means like tips to landing your first dev role. I'm going to take the question as that. And I have 4 steps to landing your first job in tech. Number 1, have to have a good LinkedIn profile. There are 0 ways around that. LinkedIn has 675 million monthly users, out of which 90 million are hiring managers, recruiters, and decision makers for businesses. You need to stand out where they hang out. Simple as that. If they were hanging out at a bar, I tell you to hang out at the bar. If they're hanging out at a restaurant, I tell you to hang out at the restaurant. Well, they're all hanging out on LinkedIn. That is where you need to shine. Because here's the thing: you can apply to 1 million jobs using your resume, but you have to pass an ATS software, which means you have to have certain keywords to even stand out, and of which you need to make sure that you honestly even be seen by a person. And it's hard. Whereas LinkedIn, you can network, you can build your network, you can get visibility, you can be seen by live people all the time. And if you have a strong profile, it'll do a ton of the work for you. Like, for example, when I was landing a job in tech, I was landing into like 1,000 job searches every week. Now I'm landing into 4,000, even though I'm not even looking for a job, right? But making your profile, that does the work for you. So that way you can't chase after every single listing. It's impossible. So number 1, have to have a strong LinkedIn. Number 2, you have to have a good portfolio site. Now, your portfolio site doesn't necessarily have to be code heavy. It doesn't, but it does have to look aesthetically pleasing. And here's why. Most hiring managers have never written a line of code a day in their life. So when they see your portfolio site and it looks good, they're like, oh, on a subliminal level, they're like, oh, I can trust this site. Then they hand that site over to the decision maker for that role, the technical manager, and that's where step number 3 comes in, your portfolio items. This is where you shine. This is where you show your command of the language. This is where you prove you know what you're talking about. You need to have a couple projects on there that aren't the average YouTube tutorial, that are big projects that you can take, build off of, and run with, and show your command of the language. Show your back end, show your front end, show whatever it is that you know, and really, really highlight that in a big way. Link a live version of it if it's a website, and then link the GitHub repository so that way they can see your code and see how you work. Remember, people eat with their eyes. Entice them, make them hungry. So having that live version will make them hungry to want to read your code. That is how you stand out. And then step number 4, you have to have a good resume that passes the ATS software. I put it at last position because for me, the first 3 are more important. So definitely work on those. And your resume, you shouldn't just have one version of your resume. You should have several to match different styles of listings, and add the keywords of those job listings into your resume to make sure you pass that ATS software. Oh, so many messages. Jordan, what's going on, buddy? Max, I'm glad that I answered the question. No problem. I'm new myself, and I keep a printout of these on my desk. Okay, I missed something somewhere. All right. What are the advantages of learning pure Android development over? That's a very good question. What are the advantages of learning pure Android development over cross-platform development like Flutter? And I'm a big Flutter fan. Since I find Flutter amazing, so do I. But I want to know, are there any pros? Yes. And this is what I was shocked about. This is why I spent so much time learning this over the last week. I love Flutter. Flutter was my first introduction into mobile development. And so I even said, why would you want to go native Android or native iOS when you have a language that does? And the reason why is there are many companies that want native solutions that are catered to that market. So even one problem that we all know with Flutter, right? Sometimes you make something that is for Android or iOS and it doesn't show up in a certain way on one platform, so you're trying to fix this. They want a dedicated team towards that solution as opposed to the cross-platform solution. Blew my mind. I never thought that was happening. And the other thing is with a lot of these enterprise-level companies, they don't make changes fast. So if they have an Android team, they're not changing that. Android development is not going anywhere. And the crazy part is it's growing fast. And that's what shocked me. I thought it would be slowing down with these new solutions. It's growing. Flutter is growing too. Don't get me wrong. It's really growing. But Android development is growing insanely fast. And so that is why I spent the last week learning it. I plan to spend a lot of time learning it. And that is why I've been enjoying everything that I've been uncovering. But the income, money-making potential, and the longevity of the careers is insane in Android development. So don't knock it. Definitely search it out. I think you may like it. Okay, this will be the last question that I take. Do you have any resources on how to prepare to become a dev advocate, dev relations engineer? Honestly, my opinion on becoming a dev role, you gotta be really technologies, whether it's Google Technologies or Auth, whatever it may be. All kinds of companies are coming out with dev relation engineers now. And I think one thing that this pandemic has shown companies is social marketing works, and engineers love learning from demos and other engineers. So that is a great way to make sure that their products are getting seen by them. So you have to have a real good passion for actually teaching, because here's one thing that I always say. A lot of people want to teach. A lot of people aren't necessarily great teachers. So when you can find someone that's passionate about teaching and is a great teacher, and they can combine the two, that's a match made in heaven. So if you're really passionate about teaching and you're really good at it, you understand on a fundamental level of what people are looking to understand and how to break it down for them, that will make you phenomenal in the dev role space. And that can help you in your tech talks, because a big portion of dev role is actually giving talks on that technology in a way that people can comprehend and grow with it. So definitely, if you can do that, that would probably help put you ahead of a ton of other people. Danny, I'm working as a full stack developer, but I don't have a college degree. Can I get a job in a tech giant like Google or Amazon? Yes. Google even has released several courses on Coursera that they say that they look at this as the equivalent of even a bachelor's. They don't have one necessarily strictly on web development right now. I think that's something that they're working on. But right now, like they have IT tech support, Android development, all kinds of courses there. I think there's like 6. And if you take that, it takes like about 6 months to complete. But they're equating that to regular education. But to also give you an idea, I have a job at Google. I don't have a degree. I've had many jobs. I don't have degrees. I know people that worked at these companies that don't have degrees. So it's absolutely possible. I'm not saying it's easy, but I am saying it's possible. So just don't think that it's going to be the easiest thing going, because it's not going to be. All right. Now I could talk about stuff like this all day, but I want you to check out my other videos. So check out my other videos, and I will see you on the next one. Thanks for hanging out, y'all.